damn, I should be making a list of who the influencers are in my company.
Absolutely.
Because that's really how we're going to get stuff done. It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. So Deepak says Kedma has been a great coach. Question for her: how to think like a leader and influence your team without positional power, but with personal power. I think that's such a good question because like authority versus influence is different.
Yes.
But like you know when a person's a great influencer and you appreciate it, and it kind of drives you nuts when somebody's an authority but not a good influencer, and you're like, it just irks at you. And we don't want to be that, right? So like, how do you influence, even if you have the authority? How do you make sure you're an influencer?
Yeah. Great question. Tough question, but great question. Well, first I want to speak to how that plays into business. Prior to joining Conquer, one of the roles I had was I was on a strategic team for the state where I was literally brought in where companies were about to go under. Basically, we were the business transition team. And our job was to save the company. Our job was to try to find a way to turn the business around, either financially or there was a lot of emotional, disparity because a lot of the employees there did not trust the situation. There may have been harassment considerations. It was pretty serious case. First thing I ever do in those situations, Dan, is once I've brought in and the CEO brings me in and the CEO starts telling me what they think, I say, with all due respect, I need to meet the influencers. Now, that CEO may feel really insulted. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Because the influencers may not have the title, but they have the power in the company to sway the decisions of the majority of employees. And I know that full well. And many, many times the influencers that I would meet were not in a high-ranking position. So first lesson, do not presume that if you are in a high-ranking position that you have any influence. Just because you're handing out the paycheck doesn't mean people respect you. And if you didn't have the paycheck, because you asked how to be an influencer, I'm going to tell you how. If you remove the paycheck, would someone still work for you? Think about that. If they can afford, right, for you to temporarily remove the paycheck, would they still work for you? Now, I can honestly say, but please, Brandon, do not do this to me. If Brandon removed my paycheck temporarily, I would still work for Brandon. But Brandon, do not do that for me. This is just an example. But the point is,
let's just be clear about one thing here.
This is just a scenario, Brandon, if you're watching this. But the point is, because he has influenced who I am, and I want to follow him, and he happens to have a brand called Conquer. However, let me make it really clear, Dan. If Brandon's company was ABC or bookkeeping or Joe Schmo, I would still work with Brandon. Mm-hmm. That's an influencer. So an influencer, yeah.
So sorry to interrupt you, but I'm thinking about the application for many of us as service business owners. As you're saying that, I'm like, damn, I should be making a list of who the influencers are in my company.
Absolutely.
Because that's really how we're going to get stuff done. It's not going to be because Dan said so. It's going to be because either the influencers agreed or didn't agree and made it happen.
So second thing you do.
Sure who my influencers are.
Right. So second thing you do is once you identify the influencers, you do exactly what I was about to say. You create an influencer advisory board. And that advisory board has direct access to giving guidance to the CEO team. Okay. At any level of the business, including financial decisions. Now that's going to scare most people who say, whoa. I don't want them to be involved in making financial decisions, but you have to understand if you get those influencers on board, they're going to make you more money than you've ever imagined. And if you don't believe me, then I'm going to ask you to reverse that. And I will ask you how many people have left your company and you have no idea why. Well, those influencers will tell you why. And they are the ones that will shepherd it. So I always will look at the influencers to help determine the culture of the company.